All of these spoons were cut at least 3 years ago and been soaking in the water ever since. That's why the bark is gone. And that's why I have towels, because they're wet and they're going to stay wet. This is containers full of water, and that's the container for roughed out spoons that are waiting to be fired. Fired means to dry. It's the way I dry them, which everybody's terribly interested in and shouldn't be. Now there is a very interesting spoon I like a lot. The trouble is, see that black spot right there? That's probably going to ruin it, but let's give it a chance. So if I'm marking this spoon, I'm only going to be marking the nick, which is just about right here. Again, for you student types, there's the dorsal line and here's the load. Spoon. After a while you get to be able to see spoons pretty clearly, but it takes some time. And now you see that mess of dark places in the end grain? I'm going to avoid that and split inside it. But if I'm not careful, I'm going to split out, because now if you see where I'm splitting, I have a whole lot more wood on the one side and a whole lot less wood on the other. And at some level, you can't do that because it will split off and you'll wind up with no handle on your spoon. I'm just going to give it a try here. Because the piece is short, I think probably I can do it. I did it. So there we have a spoon roughed out. And there's the spoon. It's made in nature. And look at the back here. I don't see this funny place in the spoon. I don't see it in back, so there's a potential, possibly, I can work this spoon down from here and get rid of this stuff in the bowl and have a kind of a nice spoon. I could make that spoon for you, and perhaps I will. I'd say it's ready to carve. So this here is the ready to carve bucket. So here's the next one. And we're looking at a spoon. Are you beginning to pick up on this? And here will be the nick, I'm thinking. I'll just put this is an interesting shape. I'll just put a dorsal line on here and a load for you, so you can kind of get a picture of what spoon is. And now the nick is the extension of the dorsal line here. That's what I need, because that's of course what you see when you split. Oh, tricky fro work. Did you see me catch that? It was going to go over and I caught it with the fro. I love it when that happens. That's way beyond intention. That's just about 40 years of experience splitting wood every day. I believe I have spent more time splitting wood for treasure than anybody alive. Whatever good that does. You see how I shift it back from hand to hand? There's less of a market for left-handed spoons. So if I want to know if it's left-handed or right-handed, and if it's okay in the right hand, I'm liable to make it. If it's okay in the left hand, I'm only liable to make it if it's really wonderful. And I can tell, and so can you probably, just how wonderful this spoon is or is not right now, and I think it's quite a wonderful spoon. I may split it again. That's a kind of a, well, no, probably not. You'll just make one spoon. Sooner or later, going down into ready to carve. Okay, headed in. Another one. I don't know if I like any of these. Of course, it could be me, you know, there are days and there are days. And there's a perfectly nice spoon with probably something interesting in the handle. You see how there's kind of a bump here? There's also a knot. I call this action. There's some action in the wood below it. And that's my tendency, is to take the handle at a convenient place above the action. I'm saying too much, aren't I? So let's just stop saying Okay, that should be cut right about here before I split it. I'm liking this spoon more and more. So there's the nick. And spoon, nick, spoon. And then I will split it. There's that little bullseye right there. So I'll split it way back there, and I might get more than one spoon, which I'll show you what you can do a little later on. I'll show you what you can do, or maybe in another video. We haven't decided what to call these yet. Presentations, another presentation. And let's see what we can do with this. All right. So froes are interesting things. You can hammer with a froe. That worked. And you can. This is firewood, from my point of view. What you have here is a bent piece of wood. If you are a race car driver and you're racing around a track, you want to be on the inside of the bend, because it's a shorter distance around the track. The outside of the bend, it's a bend like that, like a racetrack. Every place a tree bends, it lets out a limb to show leaves to the sun. That's what trees exist for. I wish I could tell you that trees exist to make spoons for wonderful me, but it's not true. And so every tree that bends, on the outside of the bend, someplace there's always going to be a knot, which will make a hole in your bowl, or a weakness, like in this case, a weakness in the handle, at a very bad place for a handle to be weak, or at best, a very nasty place to carve. If you have to hollow a bowl, you don't want to hollow straight down into end grain, which you're doing if there's a knot in it. Also, when it dries, it's liable to move around, and the knot is liable to crack, which will make a hole in the bowl of your spoon. So those are the reasons why this, John, is not a spoon, and why this is a stack of spoons. Could be 3 in here. So let's get together, and for starters, let me show you why this isn't a spoon by splitting again. I'm going to split in the middle of mass so I get 2 nice even pieces, and maybe I'm wrong. 1 in 1,000 is okay. So we split this again, not quite exactly right, because of course we're into, remember I said we're into a knot? Also your labor increases. Okay. So here is the spoon that is not, and there is the knot that will probably compromise the handle. Also it's split off, so this particular piece is firewood. And this one, as you can see, if this were the bowl, let's say the bowl, the spoon is here, then there is a hole in the bowl. And if the bowl, the spoon is up here, then there is a bad place in the handle. So that's why it's lovely here. See how my thumb and finger fit it? Very nice here, but really the bowl should be just about here. We should cut this right off. See, it's shortened itself in that part of the wood, and so it's not there. So that's why. Here is the other piece of that piece. Again, I thought I should probably cut it, but we're not cutting it because John didn't want to do that, so that's good. We have a different kind of student here behind the camera, don't we? You can just see it needs to be cut here because the bowl's too long. But anyway, maybe back here it'd be different. Now, look at all that wood. I'm going to try to get 3 spoons out of here. The problem is, how can I do it? Because if I do not split in the middle, I'm going to split off one way or another. So this is, I call this finessing the split. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split the top spoon, the dorsal spoon, off first. And I'm going to let that spoon split off. And that spoon is going to give me a letter opener. A spoon, but a letter opener. And then I'm going to do that in such a way that the second 2 spoons I split exactly in the middle. And they're going to give me 2 spoons. So watch this. Have to wait for Satori. This is the exciting part. Now, when I'm working alone, I move along without thought, of course, and things like this, kind of happen by themselves. But I'm splitting off the inside third, and I'm leaving 2 spoons behind it. Beautiful. I have successfully split off the top third to a very nice spoon. Nice. The bowl's too long. It needs to be cut here. See, I knew that ahead of time. So we got to cut it off here. So I'm going to drop this into the cut category, which is there. That's the cut bucket. And we'll take them over to a power saw and cut them. And now here we have 2 spoons. And with luck, I can split these precisely in the middle of mass, and we'll wind up with 2 spoons. And we might wind up with some kind of a set of 3. It's got to be precise. Trust me on this. The trick, one of the tricks to handling a froe, it looks easy when I do it, but keeping the froe in place precisely while hitting it ain't easy. It takes a long time to learn. All right, watch this. All kinds of tricky ways to use a froe here. You can wrestle with a handle on a froe. You can do that. And now we have 2 more spoons. So where's that first one? Where did I put it? I lost it already.
Put it in the bucket.
In the bucket. Oh, the cut bucket. Thank you. All right. Boom. We have now 3 spoons. 1, I like a lot. 2 is okay. Bowl's a little long, needs to be cut off, don't you think? And 3, this stuff here might give us trouble at some point, but I don't see it here, so we probably can get along with it. 4, and again, well, maybe it's just as well we didn't cut it. Thank you, John. Now we have 3 spoons together, and of course, if that knot had been in the center and gone right through, we might have had something, very wonderful and certainly saleable. So we'll keep these together because we might have a convenient set. And these, am I going to saw? As they go down, it looks like we saw less. I may saw these off at an angle before I carve them. Just save some labor. It's easier to saw than it is to chop. So I'm still going to put this into the saw bucket. Gloves are pretty important when splitting. It's very easy to hurt yourself in crude and unpleasant ways with a mallet and froe. It's not as bad as a power saw. You can take your finger off, but it can certainly hurt yourself, so it's good. Also, now you see the reason this wood shot, this is the piece that shot out earlier, is because I'm into this bad grain here, and I'm not catching it. So I'm just going to take the froe out for a moment, and I'm going to work this with a wedge. And that iron wedge was actually bent. Iron's a soft material. Iron's a lovely material. It's like gold or silver. It's a pure metal, and nobody uses it anymore. Iron is gone. All iron's made into steel these days, which is less, well, it's not iron, harder than iron. So if I knock that wedge in there, I should move more slowly. Then I can probably reintroduce the froe and maybe get it in here. There we go. And we have split the wood effectively. I'm going to put the wedge away. Lovely wedge, isn't that a lovely wedge? Pardon the ugly gloves. Spoon making. Here's the outside. And of course, there's your knot. So there's the reason why you're not going to have a spoon there, no question. But now that John's got me thinking about it, it's a lovely piece. Maybe something can be done off camera for sure. We're not going to go chopping away at this on camera. So I'll put this into the ready to go bucket, and I'll make one of those for you before we're done here, I promise. Might be this one. And so there's your spoon. Not going to make two, probably not going to make two. Ready to go. Okay, next one, lovely piece of wood here. Let's take a look at it. All right, we're going to roll this. So there's probably the spoon there. Not much of one. Roll it back a little bit. That's a little wider, see. See, I don't think in terms of anything but the nick. So here I am, nick, very precise. The nick is very precise. Yeah, I could give you a dorsal line. See, I start with a nick. Actually, it's funny, isn't it? I could give you a dorsal line and a load, but that's what I'm looking at, and I've made the decision. You can see that end. Let me wipe it off for you a bit. You can see that the spot in the middle. And I'm going to try to split it right on that spot in the middle and right parallel to this nick. And I'll be gentle so I don't break $1 million camera. And there we are. Here's the outside, and here's the inside. And the center is right there. You don't want the center of the tree in your work. And let me show you, just for the fun of it, why you don't want the center. That's the center of the tree. It's the first good one we've seen. Is in this axe handle. These are the axes that are used in my workshops. This axe handle was made with the center in the tree, and that's why it's cracked. See those cracks? Those long cracks here and here and here. This is what happens when you leave the center in your wood. That's good hard wood, and it's called a star check. It splits out from the middle. So if the middle's not there, it can't do that. It can't split out from the middle. And you know, it's a lovely axe handle. I love it. Many of us have loved it, but we don't really want a spoon like that. Notice I never hit the fro after it's buried. Students always try to do that, and it's not very polite. It's so it looks like a spoon, doesn't it? But look, see the knot? Not a spoon. It's a frustrating thing because, you know, the outside of the bend really makes the spoon because it's widest where it opens and round at the bottom, and you think a spoon would be there. Firewood. And here's backwards. It gets skinnier and skinnier as it gets up to the top or higher part of the bowl, and that's why it has to be split again to make two. And this will split to make two perfectly adequate spoons, I think. Shall we save this for a student? I don't think so. I'll just make this one. I've got to make some spoons. I can't just split for my workshop students. Though the place is full of them. I don't know if you were running when I mentioned this before, but this splitting exercise is basically for my students because they need to see more splitting than you can experience in one workshop. Some will take it in two hands like this. I don't, as a rule. Okay. And here is a spoon, a little cranked, a little bit cranked. And here is another one, a little bit less cranked. Yeah, I think probably, I'll carve this one. That would be a good one to carve for you. And this one I think I won't because it's going to require a little bit of manipulation to make it twist back. And that would be spoon making. And I don't admit to making spoons. The tree has to make the spoon. And if I have to carve it funny to make it right, I don't do it. But my students are mostly happy to, or some of them are. And so we'll put that into S2s. Here's an interesting piece of wood. This is the bark of mountain laurel, and as I say, I have soaked this so long that the bark was falling off, but this has got rugged burls. There's burls all through here, see? You want to remove the bark before you do too much work because the bark will fool you into thinking you have more wood, and you'll wind up with this piece that you think is lovely, but it's half bark and there's no strength in it. All of a sudden you say, why is this handle breaking? Well, because it's half bark, because you haven't removed the bark before you made the handle. So it's a good idea to take bark off, but mountain laurel bark, well, let's take it off. I'm talking about taking it off, so let's just hook it here and see what we can do. It should peel very nicely. Oh, there it is, yeah, okay. Okay, now this is the spoon's going to be here. I need to split a little off here. I guess I could carve it off. But there's the spoon. I'm not sure I want to split it a second time. I think I maybe want to take it just like this. That's certainly not the one I'm going to carve for you today. Oh, here's a beauty. Oh my goodness, look at that. Does that make your heart go pitter-patter? See the knot hole? Okay, follow the grain. Follow the grain up, follow the grain down. Oh, it's left-handed. It's left-handed. Well, I could probably manipulate it. This is firewood, I guess. I could probably, there's your knots. I could probably manipulate it to right-handed by bringing it around here. See, if I brought it around here, I could make it right-handed, but it's an awful spoon. You know, narrow, and I'm getting very close to that knot underneath. It really wants to be left-handed. It's going to have to be. So this is the spoon, no question. We're making a lefty, but it's magnificent. I wish I had a market. Anybody out there can help me, is I need a market. I mean, a serious high-class market, because these things cost money. for left-handed stuff. All right, let's just split out the lefty and take it from there. Okay, here's the problem. Can you see the center where the tree thinks it is? That little tiny spot there, a little black spot? Yeah. Okay, see how little spoon there is above it? So I'm limited. I don't want to have that center grain in the spoon because the handle will crack or something, or the bowl will crack. So I need to split it right through that black spot, right through the center of the tree, which is right there. And I can't because there's too much wood down below and not enough wood up above, so it's going to split off. I'm going to lose my spoon. I'm not going to get this nice knot hole in the handle. So let me just make sure here. That's good. So what I need to do is finesse the split. I want to split on this. I want to split on this tiny dot, straight across at right angles to the nick. Okay, it's getting complicated now, isn't it? So I'm going to split this in such a manner that the second split, just as much wood is above as below the dot, the center of the tree. So I'm going to split it. See, I want to split it. Let me get a glove off here. I want to split it right here, like this. Never make a line. Never make a line like this. Students often want to do this. They see the nick, they want to make the split line. But don't. It cannot be as accurate as you can see with the fro. So you ruin your accuracy when you make a line. I'm just putting this line on here to show you what I'm trying to do. I want to split there. I can't. If I split there, I will lose this knot hole because it will split off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split someplace like about here. Okay, you see that lower line? If I split someplace like about that lower line, then the second split, I can split where I want to. And there will be an equal amount either side. And this spoon that I desire, even though it's left-handed, will be found, will be achieved, will be split from the wood. So I've used this term before. I'm finessing the split. Right angles to the nick, and right there. See, the reason the fro popped out is because now I'm halfway into the back of the spoon, the back of the tree, the outside of the bend, and there's a knot. Whether you can see it or not, there's a knot here because a limb went out there. And so I'm in the middle of a knot. I'm splitting into a knot of some kind. So let's see what we get. I bet I can show you the knot. Yep, there it is. See the knot? I haven't seen it yet, but I'm showing it to you. Okay, this is what happens when you split any place. When you split outside the center of the tree. If you split into the outside curve of a tree, you will always get that knot. Hi, knot. All right, so there's a spoon by accident. Awkward spoon. Nothing wrong with it. Put that in the S2s. Maybe a student I don't like could work on that one. Or somebody who's too good. A student who's too good who I want to see have trouble. And, okay, so now we're here, and here's the spoon we want, and there's the nick, and now we have an equal amount either side, so I can split right where I want to split, and we're in the middle here again, still get a knot, and get this one again we're throwing out unless we want a little sculpture, which I don't think we do at the moment. And Here is our spoon. And we're going to cut it probably about here before we carve it. And chances are we'll cut it about here. And that is a beautiful, I think, left-handed spoon. So that goes into the cut bucket. And